and then the button doesn't go. First world problems. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. I'm coming at you today with co-host Crypto Rain. We will wait on Dr. Stuff. We'll be here in a bit. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi.
What's up, Dashi? Good to see you again.
Yes, you too. It was too short in New York. It was my fault. I didn't get in until Thursday, and I wound up leaving on Saturday, so it was a short one for me. I had to be in Long Island. We should probably start with the recap on that Wednesday. So the con doesn't start till Thursday. There's no official events happening, but people get there on Wednesday. I'd say half the people do. Why do people go there on Wednesday? Why go a day early when the official events don't really start till the next day?
Well, a lot of it is about networking, right? So I went down there. I didn't even get a ticket to the New York Comic Con. I just went for networking with the VeVe family and with Dr. Profit and find out what's going on with Stacker and what's going on with OMI and what's going on with VeVe.
So obviously there's networking. How do the people make you feel when you go and you see them? Are they people that have to like, oh, I've got to deal with these people, or do they fill your heart with love and joy?
Yeah, they're really classy people. A lot of really well-educated, successful people too. I like that OMI and VeVe can attract so many successful people. So you have a slew of very successful people that come all the way out for, well, not even for New York Comic Con. It's really just to get together about VeVe. And the New York Comic Con is just the excuse.
Yeah. Any excuse to go meet up with the fam, I'm in. There's a few of us that do want to go to DCon next month. I know VeVe won't officially be there. I'm unsure if David and Dan, I feel like they might go just because they have the excuse to meet licensors, they do whatever, but then it's also Vegas. So this year it's not in Anaheim, it's in Vegas. What makes me feel really bullish about OMI, which has nothing to do with OMI, but everything to do with OMI, is the VeVe booth. OMI was not officially talked about at the VeVe booth. I don't think so. I mean, a couple of us did, sure, and at the events, but last year it wasn't really hard to tell. The Marvel booth was front and center. We were attached to them. That was great. So there was a lot of people there always, and you can kind of tell who were there to be specifically with VeVe, and you could kind of tell who were there kind of with Marvel, but maybe they were just checking out VeVe. But there was no mistake this time. There was no errors saying like, oh, okay, well, these people are probably just here for Marvel. Like there was none of that. It was just the VeVe booth. It was just them. It was busy when I went, but I went to really just redeem the gold logo stuff. But according to Foster, according to Magic, according to OMI homies, Max and Janie, it's just busy all day. It's just busy nonstop. Always had stuff going on. Always had people there. When you have that organic interest, when you have those fundamentals, and it's not just hype. It's not like, this is the new kid on the block. VeVe's been here for a long time. It's not just, hey, this is mooning, let's go here. The fundamentals are there, and people are spending money. And especially when you have other people from other fandoms don't even know what VeVe is, fighting each over the booth to try to get one of David's gold logo pins. Whew, that was a bullish sign if I ever saw one. And obviously, I believe that money will trickle down into OMI at some point. When, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what's interesting is, like, as far as like digital collectibles go and lower cap altcoin tokens, it's still somewhat of a bear market. So we're technically in the early bull market, and Bitcoin has run up. That hasn't bled over into digital collectibles tokens. It hasn't bled over into Flow. It hasn't bled over into OMI. Hasn't bled over into a lot of things, like ApeCoin actually just pumped a couple days ago. But you're seeing, so still it's kind of a bear market, and yet so many people showed up for this. And that's a positive sign, right? So there's very few communities out there that could have a turnout like this. I think Bored Ape Yacht Club probably would, but other than that, like just the VeVe community. And that's a sign that there's a massive interest base that's not only kept revenues coming in for the company during this bear market, but there's something to build on when things go absolutely crazy again. So that's, 100,000, 200,000 evangelists that'll be sharing about VeVe as the market goes crazy and teaching their friends how to get the VeVe app and how to buy things on it. So it's a really solid base. And a lot of people are worried, oh my gosh, OMI's done nothing but go down and the collectibles aren't taking off. Look, they don't take off until all of a sudden they do. And it's a lot like most cycles. Real estate is this way, stocks is often this way, where it's slowly and then suddenly. And so in theory, like, people understand that in order to make money in any investment, you need to buy low and sell high. So why is it when prices are really low, most people don't buy? Because they haven't reversed their own fundamental psychology, which tells them to buy high and hope it goes higher. So, like, I think VeVe's set up really, really well for the coming bull market. Therefore, OMI is set up really well. I know a lot of people say, like, OMI won't take off unless this happens and this happens and this happens. And they're just wrong on that. OMI, like, there's so many things that are laid out that when the greater bull market goes and the digital collectibles narrative hits, OMI's just going to go crazy again. Like, for a comparison, there's kind of one competitor who's still alive to VeVe, and that's Dapper Labs. And Dapper Labs has, NFL all day. They have NBA Top Shot, and they have UFC Strike, and they have some other Disney pins. But they don't have to talk about flow all the time. But what happens is their digital collectibles go crazy, flow goes crazy. It's just their digital collectibles haven't gone crazy yet either, so flow hasn't gone crazy. So it's just a patience game. And there's a lot of people running around saying, OMI's dead, nothing's happening, nothing's going to happen unless this. And they're just new to this. They don't let them put you in despair. They just don't know what they're talking about. They're like third graders running around trying to tell you how the world is. And they're not bad people. They just don't understand markets. And they don't understand this market. And they're new. They came in sometime in the last 3 years, most of them, or at least they got serious in the last 3 years. And so this is their first bear market into the bull market that they've been paying close attention. And they're just forecasting absolutely wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, the chances that we go massively higher from here are really, really high.
So I agree 100%. The only like, not even a correction, just one thing that I'd like to add in is that I agree we'll go crazy when that narrative hits, but I do think it is important to mention that we would go crazier if we have multiple exchanges, if we have that volume, if we have chances for, like, those big whales to get in, because it is harder to go in and buy on, we have Uniswap on Base on Ethereum, and then you have this index, but it's right now, I think the only pairing where you can get Base OMI is really on Uniswap. So being able to have that pair on other exchanges where people can get in pretty easily, because it is hard for Joe Sixpack to go and get it. Is it possible? Yes. There's tutorial videos. The community helps, but I would like to see that additional extra rocket booster of more exchanges. But agree, they don't have to do much. And obviously you have. Mm-hmm.
The last bear market going into the bull market, they did 3,000x, and the only exchanges you could buy it on were some random exchanges. Now, there was a lot of people that had their OMI locked up on their app that couldn't pull it out to sell it when the price went high. So it probably went higher than it otherwise would have. But still, like, can it happen exactly the way it is? Yes. Are you correct that a major exchange like Coinbase, where US dollars can easily flow into it and whales can, have a lot of liquidity to buy into, that would help tremendously? I think it's going to go great already. It's just going to go even more great, because I expect there will probably be some exchanges coming in the next 6 months. And I don't have insider information, but I don't see why they wouldn't be setting that up.
Yeah. What's up, Doc? How you doing?
Gentlemen, doing very well. It's a hectic day. Work kept me at a pretty late meeting today, and that doesn't typically happen, but it was a pretty important one. So, no, I'm good. Just glad to be here. And Rain, I was hearing you just as it jumped in, right? You're talking about exchanges, and Yeah, I agree. And I've said this before that once we got OMI the NFT fully rolled out, now I have to back up a little bit because in my mind, I was like, OMI the NFT fully rolled out. I initially said just to the public, right? Like that was fully rolled out, and it is rolled out to the public. However, and I said this to Foster Hill in person, but I basically said, listen, if we have OMI the NFT and the only things that we get in that we're able to buy OMI with are the independent artists. And don't get me wrong, I love independent artists. It's awesome. I've already bought some. I've already sold some stuff on there, independent artists and some of these comic books and things. But if that's all we get, I would consider OMI the NFT a failure. I will. Look, I mean, we got to be able to buy the Marvels. We got to be able to buy the Disney stuff.
Yeah.
We got to be able to buy the big IP. That's the whole, one of VeVe's greatest strengths is their IP. And if we can't purchase the majority of their IP using OMI, the OMI NFT isn't much, right? So I guess I'm going to change a little bit what I'd said about, I think that we got to wait until we have OMI the NFT with Disney and Marvel. If it comes, I believe it's coming because, like I said, I just think it would be a huge failure, and I think that the team has to know that and believe that as well. But obviously, it's way easier to shout out to like the Ron Englishes of the world, right? Who are willing to just go out there and test the waters and kind of show and be willing to, if there's bugs and stuff with royalties, like he's way more patient. These independent artists are way more flexible and patient with the type of stuff like that than these larger companies that are like, nope, it's got to be perfect before it's rolled out. That's my assumption, right? Is that Disney is like, let someone else be the guinea pig on this, get all the wrinkles out, right? Make sure it's nice and smooth before we roll us in. That's Rain when I would think that I would start, and Randy, like I would start to see, my expectation would be that Foster and David, like all of them start talking a lot more about OMI. Right? Hey, we got this OMI token. You can buy Disney. You can buy Marvel. You can buy these things through Stacker on this third-party marketplace. It has this true utility where it's really being used. Because think about this, right? If they're like, okay, so OMI the NFT, VeVe, I'm really excited about VeVe, and I've heard about this OMI token and this utility. So what can I do with it? It's like, well, you can buy some NFTs. Oh my gosh, so I can buy Disney? And not yet. But Marvel, I can buy Marvel. No, not that. Like they're like, wait, what? What's so good about this? So I think that before they really start hyping that up and talking about it, it's got to be fully implemented. And then once we see that, Ray and Randy, I really think that I would imagine we better start seeing another exchange. It doesn't make sense otherwise why we wouldn't have an exchange within 6 months after that, if not sooner.
Agreed. There's another thing that I feel like has been holding it back. When you go and take a look at, I know Rain talks about recency bias. Mm-hmm. That's just what has happened continues to happen, will continue to happen, and that's what people believe, which is fine. But there's also negativity bias as well, and that's not more recent. That's more over the long term, over that last X amount of years, where even though the app is continuously growing and evolving, and VeVe's growing, and they're hiring more people, and they continue to dominate the space, most of what people don't really see that. They only see the negative. They just see like my vault is down, my OMI bags are down. And again, that will do a reversal at some point when, again, that narrative takes off. But that's also part of the reason why I feel like there's still some negativity out there. Again, even though things are turning around, that's just part of my reasoning. Doc, you were there multiple years. How would you compare the VeVe fam turnout this year for New York Comic Con compared to past years and events? I went over this a little bit before, but I want your thoughts on that as well.
This is my first New York Comic Con, so I can't.
I've
been to DCon and then just went to San Diego Comic Con. Those are my only two other in real life events. But I would definitely say comparing them, like DCon, VeVe had their own booth. Right, and that was big. And even San Diego Comic Con, they had their own booth this time, but it was like pretty small.
Yeah.
But it was still fun and things. But like New York Comic Con, they had a great, like a massive booth. It was well placed. Like it wasn't tucked away in the back corner. Like you walked in one of the main entrance doors, and like VeVe was there within like a couple little blocks or whatever you want to call those. So they had a great presence there. It was a big booth. There was 3 different entry points into the booth. You could see like the display was great. They had videos in the background, and it was constantly busy, right? Like at one point, when people were still in line to buy the comics and the FigPins, and there was also the gold and silver line, right, for redemptions, the gold and silver redemption line. There were people who were having to be like you stop, okay, you can go, you like directing traffic like for our lines. Like it got that kind of crazy. I've never seen that before in any of the cons that I had been to. So, and plus the other thing that's so great about these in real life events is there's no fudders there. Isn't that great? No fudder is paying money to go to these events. First of all, because they're going to show up and be like, hey, remember how I called you guys all clowns? No, it's not going to happen, right? Like, so it's all super positive. Like everyone there is a believer in the project. They're super excited to be there. So just the energy is so uplifting, right? You're all there. You all have this similar mindset. You love collecting. And so it's such a vibe, man. Such a vibe. Loved it.
Speaking of vibes, we had at one of the parties, we have West Coast guys. Shout out to Raymond, the B-boy skills and the dancing. We had a couple of dancing over there. That was fun. This is one of the. So I don't know how much of this I should tell. My experiences at Comic-Con have evolved over the years. There was a lot of debauchery and a lot of questionable activities going on 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, at the after parties. But when you hang with the VeVe peeps, again, not that we don't have fun. We close down bars. We have a lot of fun. But it is quite a lot cleaner. It is something where you're like, okay, you don't really have to worry about anything too crazy happening. It's fun, but it's everyone's pretty responsible here. A lot of cosplayers and a lot of other parties, they tend to go pretty nuts. But I like that. The parties are great. The VeVe party on the Thursday night. Favorite part about that?
I love dance clubs, and so it was at a nice dance club, and they had some go-go dancers and a lot of activity. It was some new faces for me, getting to know some people. I had a fantastic time Thursday night, and I had Doc there, Cosmo, Sanjay. I didn't see Thursday night. Sanjay's here in the chat. What's up, Sanjay? You're a rock star. Your Friday event was legendary. Yeah, fantastic time. I think Sanjay was there because someone else talked to him, but I didn't see him Thursday until Friday, which was his event that he put on. Yeah. But Thursday was a blast. Did you guys have a good time?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, Randy definitely had a good time. That guy was everywhere. Had a Lucha Libre mask. It was on and off and on and off. Sanjay was tucked in this corner, Rain. He was tucked in this corner, like he had one of the tables and stuff. And I don't know who he was schmoozing, but he was schmoozing some big people, it looked like, there. And he was having a blast, so I saw him. And the one thing about that, like, it was crazy. It was just madness, like, at that club. And, man, I could not hear anyone. It was like you were shouting the whole time to have a conversation. And so, for me, I'm not, like, a massive party person with just, like, tons of people. So that – it's like a sensory overload for me. Flashing lights, you're having to yell and everything. And I much more prefer kind of like the last 2 events, right? Friday night and Saturday night. Those were a little bit more low key where I could have conversations because that's what I like. I like, and that was the thing is I'm like, there's so many more people that I'm meeting this time around. And I'm like, I want to hear your story. I wanted to talk to Falcon. I got to talk to Falcon for 2 minutes. Josh Emmett, man, I was so excited to talk to him, and
he's so thick.
They pulling me in for another conversation. I got to talk to him a little bit more, but he is just so loud and so busy there. But like tons going on, people were having a blast. There's dancing out on that floor, moving all around. So it was a wild night Thursday for sure.
Yeah, again to see Josh was also. I tried to. earlier this year on the podcast, he's like, yeah, we'll do a charity sparring event. I was like, when are we doing that? And he's just like, well, he still hasn't asked like his manager or his company or the sponsors about it yet. I'm sure it'd be fine. And then he said, like, if we do it, we'll have it like a boxing match. I was like, okay, this is great. So I'll keep you all posted on when that is happening.
It would have to be a boxing match because he grew up doing wrestling like his whole life. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, Randy. Like, I mean, the thing is, if it's a charity match, he's probably gonna like want to prolong it a little bit.
Yeah,
because like no offense, but I think that like, well, Rain maybe like he could hold his own for a little bit longer, but like I think that the dude would just like wipe
not against Josh Emmett
in like literally seconds, right? Like as like the amount of time it took him to cross over the mat to get to me, and I'm done, right? Like yeah.
Oh no, I have less than a 1% chance of winning, even if I go all out and he goes like 70%, maybe like a 1 to 2% chance. But if I get like super lucky, because every now and then just get caught, whatever. But yeah, most likely he'd want to draw it out, and he'll probably have his fun, just like jabbing me like 800 times that night, not really throwing any power punches, just sticking me everywhere. But yeah, shout out to Sanjay. These parties would be, New York would be great regardless, but Sanjay's parties, at least each one that he does at each event, kind of puts it over the top, kind of makes it that, oh God, I'm so happy. Because like you said, it gets really, really loud on like the third VeVe night parties. And in Sanjay's, it's a little bit more mellow. It's a little bit more, I mean, there's still bars, there's still live performances, there's a bunch of giveaways. When they had that Mets pitcher Harvey, he signed it like, "Hey, have fun, VeVe Gold logo holder." Sanjay sounded like he won the lottery. He's like, "Yes, he signed it, Gold logo holders," for the giveaway. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, he's probably the reason why certain people come. He's definitely the reason why some people come, and a big part of the reason why other people come as well. Those parties are great.
Yeah, Josh Emmett was awesome. I got a chance to talk to him, and like so many cool people there in the VeVe community, right? Like, and this is just a slice. There are other influencers with really, really big names that are interested in VeVe that aren't talking about it yet. It is hard, like talking about things when a project's price is down because nobody's searching for it except for the highly committed. So what will happen is when this turns around, goes crazy, is some of these people involved are going to be spending their time covering it because they want to cover something when it's hot. And that VeVe's going to go crazy at some point. People that haven't seen these cycles before, they'll be quite surprised as it takes off.
Corner of the Sun says, "Great dance moves of Crypto Rain at Sanjay's party. Can we see some moves now?" I'll give you the Trump dance though. That's my impression of the Trump dance moves.
You got to come out to the party to see those moves.
Yeah, he was there. Josh was there.
Josh. Yeah. I think him and his wife were there, right? Yeah. So Dodger stuff. There's a cartoon called The Wild Thornberrys, and Nigel Thornberry is talking to this guy. He's going to be on TV accepting an award, and he does that move, and he says like, "When I go on stage, I look different on TV. You might not recognize me. So I'll do this." And he does the move, and then he says, "Ah." So every time I see someone do move, I think of that and I crack up. Nobody else here needed to know that, but that is my pop culture reference for the night.
Yeah. What a legend. What? You're buying it when it's cheap? Gosh, that's terrible. I mean, all these people are telling me don't buy it when it's cheap. That's crazy. What's up, Tandy?
What's up? From Medellin, boys. The Medellin.
What's up, Ernie?
He sent me pictures yesterday. It looks like he's having a lot of fun.
Nice.
There's
it was good to meet you too, man. There's so many high quality
Captain Kerr
in person for the first time. Super fun.
David, I feel like David just suggests that. I mean, I don't know. It's like when he comes up to you with a bottle, you either put your cup out or you don't. And you know what? I decided to put my cup out in solidarity, my party brothers. We had so shout out to Turtle Golf for that I think somebody bid $4,000 for his giveaway in Orlando, I think for next year. It's like a, I don't know, like a $7,000
Epic. It's a
value. So somebody bid 4,000 of that, and he doesn't even get any money for that. Those funds go directly to First Responders Children's Foundation. That's the ones that go in, and they help the children of first responders who have passed away. So it's like, okay, that's really cool. Shout out to Al Kahn and Julian Crane for doing that. Joel will be coming on the podcast at some point. Have to lock down a date. Speaking of which, Dan Williams of FigPin introduced himself to me, and he's like, hey, can I come on? So he'll be coming on next week on next Thursday. And do you guys have any questions for? What do you want to know? What do you want to know about the FigPins, about them? What have you guys learned so far? I know you guys have learned quite a bit.
Well, they've had a crazy trajectory, right? So they've dialed into regular collectors as well as having an app and like some digital version tie-ins. I'd love to hear their whole story about like from the beginning, their concept before they launched it all the way through today, right? They've only been around for a few years. And so I'd love to hear more about that. I'd love to hear more about like David Yu's involvement in the early days and what's going on. So all of that.
Yeah, I like it would be great to hear that connection, right? And where they see this going. Because that's the biggest thing, right? Is so I got in line and I got my KFC Fig Pins. They're awesome, right? They're super cool. And one thing that I kind of found out that I didn't know before is these Fig Pins, one of the things that separates them from kind of your other pin collections is that these can stand up on their own, right? And you can see that in the back there, but and they're pretty big. They're pretty big pins. But so I got my pins from VeVe, and then I went over to the FigPin line and thinking, yeah, like they're pins. Like I've never collected pins before. I had no idea. I knew that like Disney pins are definitely a big deal. I knew that, so I should have thought, hey, maybe this will be too. But we got so the Comic-Con opened at 9. And we got in the FigPin line at 10, right? And basically the guy, like we're trying to find, I was like, where's this freaking line? I don't even understand this. And because there was like a front line, middle line, and then end of line. So then I go to the end of the line, and like at the end of the line, there's another line. And I'm like, well, what, the end of the line or what's the line? What's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, take a card, and come back. And again, it's 10 in the morning, and my card is like, come back at 1:30. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? That's crazy. And it wasn't like people were taking a long time to purchase their pins, right? Like they were moving through them pretty quickly. So that was my first kind of eye opener as to like, there is a massive fan base of pin collectors for FigPin, right? And So when I got in line and just started talking to him, this is such a great collaboration because the Fig Pins themselves, so you download an app, right? And on the back of your Fig Pin is like a number. You enter in that number and on the Fig Pin app, and it gives you get a mint number from your physical, basically, on the app. And it kind of shows like the rarity of your Fig Pin. Right. And so you get points for that. Then like you get points for how long you hold the Fig Pin in your collection. So there's all this gamification of like kind of points. And like, I mean, I saw Gary O, right? Like he had all these VeVe ones. And so he's entering these in and his rank was rising and he was kind of sharing that. It was super cool to see. But where I'm going with all of this is it's such a nice segue. And we kind of talked about this on Comic and Crypto's podcast last night, but like it's such an easy crossover, these digitals. I think that this is the big gateway for Web 2 people, right? It's truly like, hey, come get this physical. Oh, and by the way, you get a digital along with it, right? And they're like, wait, what? And so it's like, download the VeVe app. They're already used to downloading apps to kind of track stuff with FigPin. So download VeVe and then they get this digital version of it. Oh, and there's gamification, there's a master collector rank, and like it's just this great kind of crossover And I talked to a lot of people about it and asked them about their FigPin collecting experience and what they were so passionate about, and talked to them about VeVe. And we know that there were several people who actually got over into the VeVe booth just to buy the FigPin. They knew nothing about VeVe, but went to the VeVe booth just to buy that FigPin because they knew it was limited, and then ended up downloading the app. So it was what a great collaboration. And just, man, that booth was hopping, and love that crossover.
So I want to, well, first off, fun under the sun. I think I was mistaking you with Dog Boy before. Dog Boy was there with Rita, his wife. So that was my bad. You were not with another lady. So picture this, guys. You are the CEO of Disney Pinnacle, right? And you are in this room, and you're in your war room. You have your maps. You have all the figures ahead of you, and you're like, okay, VeVe has all this land right here, and I have this land, and our lands are both growing, and maybe they'll intersect. Some of them already have, but I have the lock-on pins. This is what we have. They have an amazing community, and then suddenly, not only does VeVe announce that partnership with FigPins, but it's a KFC FigPin, and now they're getting into them. Now they're going to do anime, they're going to do music. What's going through your mind as the CEO of Disney Pinnacle, where you see VeVe's about to go and suck a bunch of liquidity out of your customers? What do you think happens? What's their mind?
Now, Disney Pinnacles are just digitals, right? They're not a physical version as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so this tie-in that you get a physical and a digital, like I love the phygital stuff because oftentimes you can sell the digital for more than you paid for the physical too. And so like it is superior than just buying a digital or just buying a physical in every way. So it's a great thing. Yeah, and it is going to be some competition for what Flow or Disney is doing on with Dapper Labs.
So maybe they're the same fan base, but I also think that there's like a different fan base. There has to be that Venn diagram, right, of Disney Pinnacle collectors that love the digital side of things, and they know about it because they have the physical there. And so do they collect FigPin as well? I don't know, but I do agree that if I'm a pin collector in general, if I like both Disney pins and FigPins, right? If I have to choose, unless there's something like super, super rare in the digital format on Disney Pinnacle, I'm probably going to spend my money on the phygital, right? Where I get both. I get the physical and the digital. So it definitely could draw some customers away, from Disney Pinnacle.
Yeah. I mean, it would be one thing if they were around for like 5 years and like, okay, you drilled this hole, this is where you are, no one can take anything away, but it's still fairly new, but it's new enough where I don't think they are in danger of going out of business anytime soon. They're on that Flow blockchain, they on that shared ecosystem, so there's going to be some cross-pollination with everyone, but also once that bull market takes hold, I feel like money will go everywhere and there'll be more than enough to go around. Charles says, thanks, Randy. Super excited you were able to raise so much for the first responders. Yep. And it says, what about the other guests that might be coming on your show? So it is confirmed that Carl Choi is the producer, publisher, and entrepreneur. He's the one that is behind the Evermind comics, the Bobo drop that we had as well. He's a cool dude. So we're going to go in and get him on the podcast on 29th. So that'll be fun.
Can I just give another shout out to Turtle Golf?
Yeah, always.
So he came and he made this and gifted it to some of us. And so what this is it's a golf marker, right? And you can use either the actual little pin itself here, right, which is a turtle for Turtle Golf that comes off that, right? Or you can use this little marker and trust your line is what that says. Made in the U.S. Shout out to that. And then here is kind of like pointing to your line of where that should be. And then on top of that, it's a fidget spinner. Oh, and then on top of that, for all the OMI homies, baby. I love that. Turtle Man, thank you so much for this. Like I've been playing with it, like just fidget spinning and things. It sits on my desk now at home as I work and things, and really appreciate that. That was very thoughtful. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Turtle.
So outside of the new partnerships that we have with KFC, FigPin, it's an old partnership, but a new drop. Sesame Street. They have announced Elmo. It's not the Tickle Me Elmo, which I think would do really well. It's an Elmo with a rock known as Rocco on the pedestal. Which one of your kids watches Sesame Street? I know at least one of them does.
Yeah, my daughter definitely watched Sesame Street. My 3-year-old, he's watched it a bit, but I'll tell you what. Out of both of them, it was my son who loved Oscar the Grouch, and I'm trying to remember what Oscar says in that collectible, but he's like, what does he say? Whatever that phrase was, he kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. It was so funny. So I don't know what the Elmo, if what he's going to say or what that's going to be like. I'm very interested as how that rock comes into play. I had forgotten about Elmo's pet rock, so I was like, why do they have a rock on a pedestal? Like that is so random. I had forgotten about that pet rock completely. Yeah.
The beef is real. I was going over with everyone the other day how much Elmo hates that rock, how much he wants to just destroy it, wish it weren't real.
Remember that? Really? He doesn't like the rock?
So it's Zoe's pet rock, and I don't know if this is their way of subtly talking about like mental illness and schizophrenia, or it could just be like when you have invisible friends as a kid, like pretend friends, whatever. Zoe thinks this rock is alive, and the other Muppets are like kind of like playing along, like yeah, it's Rocco. Rocco's a cool thing. We hang, and it was okay up until Rocco started taking Elmo's place in line. You had a human character give Rocco Elmo's cookie, and Elmo's like, "It's a rock. It's not going to know the difference. Give it back. Reason." So Rocco cool. Is chuffed. My man is chuffed at this little dude, and he like loses his mind at like Zoe, and I don't know how the episode ends. Whatever. I saw the clips online, but yeah, I'm very curious to see what he does with the rock because he hates this thing. So I hope he like throws it or like tips it over. Outside of the Elmo, the Oscar the Grouch, and all that, we had a $220,000 that were grossed over the weekend just on the store, not including secondary market sales. What other competitors are doing anywhere types these numbers? I know, like as a whole, I think the entire flow market might be close. I feel like I don't know how often they do drops with NBA Top Shots and UFC Strike and all that. But do you guys know any other competitors that are like this that can gross $250,000 in a weekend?
I haven't kept up with how they're doing on new pack sales, right? Because they sell them in packs.
Yeah.
They sell them for quite a bit when they sell their packs. And so I don't know what's going on with that. I know the resale market, like stuff keeps churning on the resale market. I don't know what their take is on the percentage that they take on the resale market. I don't think I've listed for sale a single one of my items. I've just been accumulating on those. So I don't know what their take is, but they do have volume and they do have a community, though a lot of sports fans haven't really recognized that it's out there other than NBA Top Shots. There's a bigger community in that one because that was live prior to the last bull run. So they built somewhat of a community, which some has stuck around. It did what VeVe did, where it went big. And then you have this loyal base that stuck around. NFL All Day and UFC Strike haven't had that. They came out in the bear market, and so they haven't really had that big takeoff point. But some stuff is going on. I don't know that they're beating VeVe's numbers. VeVe continues to have these drops that many of them sell out, and they're putting out a lot of stuff. And I feel like the VeVe fam continues to grow after contracting a whole bunch. VeVe fam's still really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. So that does bring us to another topic of signatures. This is something that we've kind of been wanting for a while, and we kind of have it, but not really. You could tell on the blockchain who else has owned a certain collectible. And that way, some people might say like, oh, it's kind of their verified signature because they owned it. But we've been talking about this for a while. It should be relatively painless to do. Just somehow do a transfer, and then this way it has their digital signature. The reason I bring this up because Comics and Crypto had posted the other day about going to New York Comic Con, adding Orlando's Bloom signature to the For-Your Consideration Academy VHS tape for Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. And they were not the only ones that did this. There's multiple people that do these types of things. It is a growing community. VHS, video games, a bunch of sealed product, all of this. How important is that to you guys for signatures on your collectibles?
On my digital or physical?
On your digital collectibles, having it something signed by an artist. I mean, the only things we have right now that have David and Dan's signature on it really is the golden ticket, and that there's still at a couple $100. The other stuff that you have on there, they signed the card for the gold logo, but that was it.
So my thing with signatures, like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, there's a Dan Greening signature, if you will, on the Barton Homer statue, which I loved.
Yeah.
But for me, if we're talking about, I guess, if we're talking about signatures, like going and collecting a signature, right? Getting an artist to sign that. I would love it if when they signed it, that somehow that signature was what was then put on my collectible, right? That to me would be the big deal. If it's kind of just like, oh, here's this signature and you can attach it to your NFT and everyone has that same signature, that to me, and this is just me personally, not as cool, right? Like, because think about it, that would be like someone having a rubber stamp, like your artist having a rubber stamp, and they're like,
Yeah.
I signed it for you. I signed it for you. It's like, yeah. But did you? Like, yeah. It's not the same. And so I don't know what that technology looks like for that to happen. But when that does, I truly think that will add significant value, because that's part of the thing is the cost or that barrier to entry to get that signature, right? You got to travel to a physical location, bring that good to them and have them sign that. And that makes it so much more rare than just being able to like purchase this signature and attach it to your NFT. And anyone can kind of do that. Even if it's limited, there's maybe only 500 signatures. It's not the same as someone who can go and get that. And so I would be extremely bullish on that. And I truly believe that your collectibles, if I could truly get Matt Greening's signature, I think I said Dan before, but Matt Greening's signature on
who is this Dan Green?
Yeah. On my Homer statue, like him really signing that, right? And I was the first one to do that. And shout out to Mahalo Joe, right? Being like first signature or something on top of that with his signature. Oh my gosh, I think that collectible the mint number almost doesn't matter anymore, right? Because that adds this additional amount of rarity. So I'd be super bullish on that. I don't know how that technology would work with, getting that on, but that would be epic.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that's something that's probably a ways away, because building that technology in probably is down the road. They have a lot of other things that are more important to do for quite a while. So maybe next bear market. Cool. But that would be amazing, right? Where you could go and they have some kind of like on an iPhone or something, and they put in some number to verify that it's them, and then they can sign it, and they could choose where to sign it. You say, yeah, I signed it on this area or whatever. Like, that'd be cool.
Sweet. Yeah, I'd like that too. Something like just like a DocuSign. Like you pay a certain amount of money and like, okay, yeah. And then they just sign it on their phone. And this way each signature could be unique. And I'm not saying you could have like, they have sometimes like with Pokemon, artists won't just sign a card. They'll put a little drawing on there as well. And the reason why they do that could just be they had a good bowel movement, they had a good meal. I don't know why that was the first positive thing I thought of, but they could have something like that. And each signature being unique can be graded as such. I don't know how grading is going to go into being, We obviously have CGC, that partnership. Could we get PSA or Beckett or anything else? I'm not sure. But speaking of PSA, which is known for Pokemon cards, Beckett also kind of known for Pokemon cards. Marvel had some news the other day where they said that they are doing cards with Magic the Gathering. And this is something that I'm kind of torn towards, because recently you've had the downfall of Hero, you had that downfall of MetaZoo. Card TCGs, card games in general, are almost impossible to make it. It's almost like we could probably, on one hand, name the amount of card games that have stood the test of time. Now, obviously, Magic the Gathering is one of those card games. Now, because that has the partnership with Marvel, we could potentially get those on there. Is that something you think we should pursue, or is, because of recent failures of other TCGs in that industry, you think we should stay far away from it?
So going for card games,
yeah, Marvel's they're doing a mashup with Magic the Gathering, which is that and Pokemon are top 2 TCGs in the world. And it's very possible that we can go and get those because of that partnership. We can get them on VeVe, at least the digital variant. I was wondering if you guys think that is a good idea, because that is one of the most popular card games in the world, or is it clear that Web3 is just not that audience because of what's been happening?
I think it's going to go that route, right? So there's a few like Splinterlands, Gods Unchained, but Pokemon is way bigger than those. Those are new IP that, the crypto audience knows. But if you went and got the Pokemon version of that and incorporated the game like Pokemon, and you got packs, that would be so massive. I don't know that VeVe app is set up for that, but hopefully they could expand that. If they have that kind of thing going, that would be gigantic. That would be absolutely amazing.
Oh my gosh, that would be crazy. You would probably have to have another app, which I know that people are complaining that we got this VeVe Comics app, and now we have Stacker, and that, on top of VeVe, and soon enough I'm going to have 40 apps just for VeVe stuff. But for something like that, I feel like people would be okay downloading the app. Basically, you buy the packs on VeVe, and then you connect that, and you're able to then play the game on a separate app. I agree, Rain. That would go crazy.
That would be amazing.
I would buy as many packs as possible, right? And I think that it would sell out instantly. That would be huge. So could they do that? Yeah. And honestly, with Magic the Gathering, I think that would be another thing. I've never really played Magic the Gathering. I did play. I don't know if you knew this, but there was Rain or Randy. There was a Star Wars card game back in the 90s, and I actually was super into that, and I collected all of them. I think I actually have some Star Wars decks that I had, my playing decks. They're worth nothing, so I obviously chose the wrong game. If I had bought Magic the Gathering cards instead, or even Pokemon cards or something, that would have been great. But anyways, if maybe there's an app where it's just like the gaming app, and you go on there and you can fit the Pokemon, you can fit the Magic the Gathering, you can fit all of these other ones on that one app, and you could go and play their specific card game. That could be awesome, man. I really think that there could be a real appetite for that. But again, I don't know the logistics behind building that app and what that would take. So it's definitely further down the line. But that's the exciting thing is, do I think that it could work? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely think it could work.
Yeah, what you said is true. I was okay, now we get another app for this. It's people okay, I have this sports packet, I have this cable sports package, I have this for history, I have this for other stuff. It's okay, let me get another one. I feel you. But speaking of which, you mentioned VeVe Comics before, because we have the VeVe Comics app, the VeVe Comics Reader app, all that jazz. They made a big announcement this week, and it's probably the most bullish announcement that I think I've heard. It's the Curator program, where they're going and saying, hey, anyone that has anything to do with a comic, you can upload that comic and you'll be able to go and put it right on VeVe, be shoulder to shoulder with Evermind, I think eventually Dark Horse, obviously Marvel, I think eventually maybe DC as well, if we can get that license. Rain, what do you think the opportunity, not cost, what do you think the opportunity is for growth here? Whether it's, you could say net, you could say the gross margins. What do you think it is for everyone in the world being able to go and put their stuff on VeVe?
I would have to see more what that's about. I like that. There was, when NFTs really started to take off, this company called Rarible allowed people to create their own NFTs and put it on, and it really got a lot of traction. Some competition came in. They got a lot of traction because they were first there, and there was no competition for a while. As competition came in, and OpenSea really took off. Then, Rarible didn't get as much traction, but they're still around today because of that early traction. That idea is fantastic, right? So we'll make a Randy Chavez NFT and a crypto rain, all in the VeVe app. That'd be amazing. And a Doctor of Stuff and a Cosmo. And, we'll even have to make a Mr. MC1 ETH. Sanjay. We'll digitally scan Sanjay in and make one for him. We got to have, Sleep in Comics.
I mean, right now it is just comics. I do think eventually, we could have it. People just selling everything. Again, literally just being the Amazon of digital collectibles. Hey, it's where we have everything. That would be really fun. So I don't know if John Clark is being facetious or not, saying, is the bull run over? But in a more serious note, Black Vigil asking, what up, guys? Question, when do you think it'll be full on alt season? Will things start moving significantly after the election? I think so, because I think Donald Trump is winning, and I think that is the one that will make bags go boom. Make bags go boom. But again, that's just my opinion. What do you think, Rain?
Just because YouTube is listening, I just want to say Kamala Harris is amazing. She's my favorite. She's so incredible. I wish her the best. If Trump wins, it's very, very bullish for crypto, and I expect crypto to respond pretty crazy. That happens. If Kamala wins, it's still going to be a big year for crypto, much bigger year for Trump. Clearly pro-crypto. Changing around the SEC will be a big deal. The SEC has been holding back American investment into crypto, and Americans have the most money. So you haven't seen Silicon Valley come in near the way they would if there was clear regulatory framework from the SEC. And it seems like they've been unclear on purpose. So with Trump, that will change, and that'll be great. Wish you the best, Kamala. It's not going well for you.
Hi there, Hayes. You talked to the team about OMI at New York Comic Con. I did not. Does it need some balance after Ben Rose not saying a word, not even at the AMA with you, Randy? Let that sink in. So I did talk to him before the AMA, before the interview about OMI. He basically just said, you can ask me whatever you want. I just won't be able to answer those types of questions for whatever reason. Did not say, I'm guessing legal reasons. You really don't want the CEO of any company saying any way that could be interpreted as pumping bags would be bad for business. So obviously didn't ask him any questions directly about that. I did kind of infer things. I said, hey, are you more diversified, or are you like all in on one thing like I am with OMI? And he said, no, I'm diversified. So he didn't say like, oh, I don't have OMI. So again, that question just inferring that he does have a little bit and him not denying it. But again, I'm kind of just reading in between the lines there. Some people don't do that. They like direct. That's fine.
So like Dapper Labs doesn't talk about flow all the time, right? And you understand why. It's better just to not put yourself squarely in the crosshairs of Gary Gensler, right? And Elizabeth Warren, to be able to make yourself a target. I mean, VeVe doesn't have $200 million to spend on lawyers should they become a target and trying to defend their innocence, right? Like, oh my gosh, or, pay a $50 million fine and all of a sudden get rid of the OMI token. That would screw us all. So they need to just lay low on OMI, like understand that they're being smart about this. If David was out talking about OMI every day, I would probably be selling my OMI because I would be scared that they're going to get hit with a big old SEC lawsuit that could cripple it. So that would be dumb. And as an investor, I would be very concerned. I would diversify out of OMI if David didn't understand that and was, shouting OMI from the rooftops, because then the SEC would come after him and say, oh, look, you're pumping your bags. We're going to deem OMI as security. blah, blah, blah. You know, there's too much tie-in here, not enough decentralization, and they would come after OMI. So they're doing the right things.
Yeah. That would be a horrendous time. Thankfully, they're more forward-thinking than that. They go over and think of the consequences. What happens if I say this? What happens if I say that?
Yeah.
Speaking of consequences, this is going to be a good one, though. The X-Men logo, the one that came out over Comic-Con, it was $15. I think the floor is like $25, so it's a little bit up over retail. But the big story is the 1963 mint of the X-Men logo, sold for 1,700 gems. Now, you have a lot of people that go in and they say, hey, I want to buy these special mints because there's only one of these. These are being scooped up. You have comics and crypto that have bounties on these things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What are the consequences of this when these are really not available to the general public anymore? When they're really just scooped up by whales or just super fans? Is this going to deter some people from getting in? When they get in, like, oh man, I can't get any special mints, or no?
No, they'll just not do the special mints, most likely. I mean, maybe a few people that are just special mint hunters, and that's all they're interested in for collecting. At some point, they'll get priced out a lot of the stuff, and they'll have to go for different ones. Like the Marvel logo for that price, that was a good deal. I mean, it's Marvel. And so getting that year, they actually got a good price on that. Down the road, if real big money, and there's some really big whales in VeVe, but if we're talking thousands of whales that are big and bigger like that, then these special mints are going to go for prices that people can't even fathom right now.
Yeah.
And you know, you have some really good people out there that already understand that, right? Like Rudy and Tina, a bunch of people that are special mint hunters. They're smart. Charlie, was it Charlie, Doc, that we talked to? Special mint hunter as well.
Yep. So I went to go look because Turfer was like, hey, I want to see some 90s Star Wars cards. So let me show you here. You could buy this box, right? Like this was the box that you could buy them in. And then basically they came in card decks like this. This would be what you would buy, this premiere pack here. And then you open that up and I don't even remember. I have let's show you some of these cards because I mean again, like it was a playing card, so you got like this a radar scanner and it has this ability. But let me get some a Tatooine utility belt so you could play this like kind of in tandem with some of your characters. It was a lot of fun and there was some local games that I won. I won this I don't know, like a plaque. I took like second place, or maybe it was first place. It was a long time ago. We got like a bantha, but like in those characters too, right? And I think that there's another place where I have more, where I actually have like my rare ones, like the Darth Vader, the Leia, the Luke, and lightsabers and all that. And the rule was, I think it was like 60 cards in a playing deck that you could have to play against. Your opponent there, and so you'd have all of these different types of decks. And again, I've never played Magic the Gathering, but I believe it's probably something like similar to that. But guys, let me show you something else, man. This is what's fun when you go hunting for boxes that you just haven't like gone for before. Found this old drawing pad there, right? So I gotta cover the signature here, but it's a little drawing of a baby there. That was me back in the day. I was like, okay. Yours? What's that?
Wait, whose drawing is that?
That me. I drew that.
Oh, so you're very artsy. You play piano and you draw. That side of your brain's working really well.
Yeah, and he sings for those that made it to the party on Friday.
Anyways, that was fun. Like to see that. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that since like, man, like 20 years probably. I haven't seen that thing. So
I appreciate that. I love the arts. There's what's up, VeVe? Yeah, there was a lot of. I do remember a lot of people giving me those drinks. That was well. I've had to like detox. I did like a 40-hour fast where I just drank water. That was good. And yeah, haven't drank. I'm not going to drink for like a month. It was a lot.
Do I believe that? I don't know if I believe that, Randy.
Oh, well, I mean, I would do it, but then I have to go see a lady friend on election night, so that'll be gonna be drinking that.
You have to. She's forcing you.
You can go drink to Kamala's victory, huh?
Stop it right now. Please don't even just throw that out there.
Gonna drink to somebody's victory. So there is all right, so we have on the top 500 hodlers list, the top 500 people that are just winning at life. You have Mark Quinn. What up, Mark? With 380 collectibles that he bought this week. Bizo Man buying 608. And then you have Expert 44 buying 762 collectibles. So Bizo Man is up to 63,888 collectibles, which is wild. And then Expert barely in the top 20 with 9,859 collectibles. So that's wild. You could have 10,000 collectibles and barely be in the top 20. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, when is Bizo Man going to go big in this? Come on.
Feel like you're calling him out there, bro.
I'm just giving you a hard time. That's awesome.
So one of the VeVe fam has a theory on who they think Bizo Man is. Okay.
Okay.
And they think that, hold on, I've got to pull up a name here. So they believe that it's Steve Eisman who is Bizo Man, right? And because he is recorded on some interviews, and this was
It's not about digital comics.
2022 or something, 2023. No, 2023. But he says, I own one of the largest digital comic book collections on planet Earth. It's 11,000 comics on my iPad. I don't know how that's not VeVe. Because you can't say that of like Marvel Unlimited, right? Like you don't really like own, like kind of like, I guess maybe, right? Like maybe he's referring, I don't know. I'm not part of Marvel Unlimited, but maybe you can buy the digital version on Marvel Unlimited. So maybe he's referring to that, but I don't think so. And so, yeah, that would be very interesting if that's.
Is Steve Eisman married?
I don't know.
Because I have, I've talked to Bizo Man's girlfriend. So if Steve Eisman is married, then that's not him. But if Steve Eisman is single, like not married but has a girlfriend, then that could be him. So
Bizo Man is married and has a girlfriend.
Valerie Fegan is his spouse.
And then it's not Steve Eisman, unfortunately.
Wait, so but how did you validate that whoever you spoke to is actually Bizo Man's girlfriend?
Right.
So it is. So publicly, you had Crypto Junkie Princess, who had commented on here and had said like, "Hey," and she's been in the fam for like a while, and said, "Hey, you mentioned Bizo Man a lot, and I happen to be like best friends with like his girlfriend." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Could you help me get an intro?" And then she messaged me who the girlfriend was, and then we talked briefly. I was like, "Hey, if you could introduce me, that would be great." She's like, "He's very, very private, so like he definitely won't do a podcast, but you know maybe you could like have like a video chat or something, or just meet." I was like, "Anything would be awesome." And then I went back on this person's like timeline, and they have, I don't know if they've posted anything recently. I guess they have, you know, a couple little things, retweets and stuff, and replies. But I went back on the media and I was like, okay, and I felt like such a stalker. I'm like scrolling back years, like trying to find a picture of this person. The Bizo Man, I don't believe is on there, but I can kind of tell, okay, I know people can age at different rates, anywhere between late 20s and early 50s. I know that's like a really broad spectrum. If I want to say, I'll say mid to late 30s. And picturing Bizo Man, if you have 60 something thousand collectibles, you're not somebody that is like, probably older than that. So I would say Bizojman is at least that age or older, because if you have that one, you're probably gonna want a younger gal. And on her profile, I mean, I don't even know. I don't want to like dox this person to give it away, but it all kind of adds up. I believe they are in, based on the photos that I was seeing and based on the backgrounds of the photos, probably in California. So I would say that this person, unless they have a long distance relationship, which I doubt, but I would say that they are in California. They are in the U.S. Definitely California. That's my final statement on that.
I love, like, you got Big A who's sitting there saying, "Oh, this is in, like, pretty sure Bezosman's is in Germany."
Yeah, that's Cavs. Is that definitely in
all these
California?
different theories, right? Look, I mean, unless you can validate for sure that crypto, who was that talked to you that said they know Bezosman's girlfriend?
Yeah, Crypto Junkie Princess. So if you go to Crypto Junkie Princess's X account, let me see if Voodoo. Okay, hang on. I hate it when it goes like you try to scroll down on the messages and then it like goes back up to the top. If you go to her particular page, I'm sure she follows her like best friend, and you can kind of see like, okay, and you could kind of tell, okay, yeah. So the followers that she has, one of them is the girlfriend. If you go through all of her followers, you should be able to tell which one is Bezojman's girlfriend. I'll just go through that. That's something that anyone could pick up. And now, again, this could all be an elaborate ruse. This could all be like a trick. Like, hey, you want to play a trick on Randy? I'm going to make this account, and I mean, they've been in VeVe for years, both of these girls, because you can see that on their posts. You can see that on their replies. So that makes sense. And then maybe they could have edited their like top, like the one who is supposedly Bezosman's girlfriend, which I believe is probably could have been edited before they had messaged me this and, you know, pulled this elaborate prank or elaborate scheme. But that's all I'll say. I feel like anyone that's kind of reading between the lines here will be like, okay, I feel you. I'll find it.
Well, yeah, I can't find the Crypto Junkie Princess. They obviously don't follow me.
She's at Crypto Polish Gal on X. Is it Polish or Polish? Either way, it's spelled the same way. Crypto Polish Gal. Polish Gal.
Gotcha. All right. Well, now I'm going to have to do some investigations. Be interesting. But okay. Anyway, it's fun, right? It's fun to sit there and think about who these people are. But what I know is this, right, is you've got someone with an extreme amount of money who is willing to put an extreme amount of money into VeVe. And a lot of the fudders, and don't get me wrong, like there's certain people, like I'm not going to blame them. They bought into VeVe based on what they believe was going to happen, with that we were going to get interoperability super quick. That was, you know, during the time of Bored Ape Yacht Club where things were going crazy, and they were just like, listen, if a company can create this IP and it can do that well, then we can get established IP. So there's those people who like bought into that promise, and they put in a lot of money, and then that didn't happen. And I would say that part of them is not taking ownership for their decision to do that, right? I took ownership. I bought in. You know, things didn't happen. In fact, it was funny, just real quick sidebar. When things were crazy up, and I had Secret Rare Spider-Man, and Secret Rare Spider-Man was going for like 85,000, 90,000. And Crypto Cosmo was like, why don't you sell that? I'm like, why in the world would I? I'm like, I don't see how this doesn't hit like $1 million if we get interoperability by the end of the year, right? That was my mindset, and it didn't happen. And I'm not mad. Like, it didn't happen. Like Disney. So, anyways, where I'm going with this is, well, wait, shoot, where was I going? Is interoperability collecting? Man, I lost my train of thought. Oh, Bezosman, yeah, and that collecting is. I look at the people who have made it, right? and are very successful and are forward thinkers. Because I think that to a certain extent, you have to see things differently than the average person to be a very successful businessman, to be successful even in business yourself, even if it's working for a company as opposed to self-employed or anything, right? Like you just have to have a different mindset. And I look at these people who are willing to take that risk and saying, like, I believe in the potential of this and where it's going. They're putting their money where their mouth is, right? Those are the people that I feel like I want to hear their insights as to why they're willing to take that risk, as opposed to the people who are like, well, I'm out, and like, no matter what other good news comes, they just FUD that anyways. Because then I feel like, okay, you're being emotional. I want that logical thought process. And it's funny because you get the FUDders who are like, oh, you know, those people, like they have to protect their bag, so they're going to only talk positive about that. And I'm like, it would be one thing if they just like completely stopped buying or started selling, and they're still trying to kind of like talk things up, right? But like these people are saying nothing, and they're just buying a ton. And I think that that's at least notable, right? I have to take that into consideration because, again, I think that everyone, I on a daily basis analyze where things are going with VeVe, right? What's happening there. And I continue to see progress. We see the new co-CEO. And yeah, you're right. They haven't mentioned OMI. But again, I kind of laid out why I think that is. I don't think that it's going to make sense for them to really start talking about OMI until the whole utility of OMI is there. For them to say you can use OMI to buy Disney NFTs on Stacker. You can use OMI to buy Marvel NFTs on Stacker. Oh, and by the way, like if you hold OMI in the Stacker app as opposed to the VeVe app, like you're also going to get this other utility, like those type of things. They need to be able to talk about all of it, because what's the point in using marketing dollars and spending all this time talking about something that's not fully rolled out? Doesn't make a lot of sense in my opinion, right? But I'm constantly taking all this into consideration. And one of those assessments is, what are big money people doing and why, right? So something to think about.
I got to run, guys.
I saw that.
Super good to see you, man.
Yes.
Thank
Love
you so
you
much
guys.
for
Love
stopping
you,
by.
fam. Great meeting a bunch of you out there at the parties this last week. Really enjoyed that. We'll see y'all.
Sorry, thought I had to sneeze. We're good. We're good. No, I love that thought process. Because the same thing. It's like, okay, well, let's say, who do you want to take basketball advice from? Do you want to take basketball advice from someone that has maybe played when they were like in 5th grade, or somebody that played at like a D1 college school? You probably want to go and take basketball advice from the person that has played at a D1 college school. They know what it's like to train. They know what it's like to actually play at that top level and against competition. It's the same thing with investing. When you have people that, and I can't say this for every fudder, and obviously people that win a lot and they are successful, they do have their share of losses. But when you have a ton of hyper successful people on the buying bullish side, and you have a ton of unsuccessful people that have not made very good decisions, both financially and non-financially, on the other side, which side do you want to go to? And again, those are the general rules. Obviously, there are exceptions to those rules, but yeah, I agree 100%. When scientists look for life on other planets, they say follow the water. When investors and journalists, whatever, they want to find out what makes a company successful, they say follow the money. And if you follow money, I mean, I would rather trust the team, the legal team at Disney and FigPin and Marvel and all these people that are checking out VeVe, making sure that they're good and not a scam, and they're like, so that's it for me. On the other end of this, we have a good problem, which is there will be a lot of money that will be made with a lot of collectibles, a lot of OMI. Now, is every collectible going to go to the moon? No. But like I said, Spider-Man will probably have its day again. Probably Superman, first appearance Batman, or that whole first set of Batman. That can go one of two ways. People are merry and happy and they get that way. But then you have some people that have never had a lot of money before. Suddenly they have a lot of money. What are some, and I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer here. And again, it's a good problem to have, but what do you think the community should do, like the people that have had money before, what do you think they should say to these people? Should there be like a system in place? Should there be like a class? Should there be like a, hey, is this your, and I know this sounds really pompous and whatever, but I've seen where that happens, where certain people, they're doing well and they're okay because they don't have a lot of money. But as soon as they have those options, they kind of go off the rails. They kind of do a bunch of crazy stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first thing that I'll say, I think that it's important with the vernacular that you use or the terms that you use, saying we will make a lot of money.
Okay, fair point.
Just because look, we always have to say, like, there's a risk, right? I hope that people constantly, as we talk about it, and we're both bullish on VeVe, right? But again, in the back of my mind, and I say I have to analyze that every day, because there is a chance that things don't work out, and so I am constantly keeping my eyes open for, are there any flags that I need to be aware of that might change my mindset, right? Shout out to Sleeping. First of all, tangent again, super fun to chat with you a lot, Sleeping, and get to know you better in person. What a freaking rock star that guy is. I am telling you guys. And the more fan that I meet in person and I get to know a little bit more about who they are, man, this community is jam-packed with some pretty phenomenal people. Not just, I mean, aside from even just being like good human beings, just like the success that they've had in real life and the value that they're bringing and the insights that they bring, man, Sleeping is cream of the crop, man. Just awesome guy. So that was fun chatting with him. But so yeah, talking about risk again, right? Like, please always keep that in mind, that when we talk about this is not financial advice for you. No one knows your situation. We're not financial advisors. We're talking about the things that we are doing with our money, with our risk profiles and our risk tolerances and all of that jazz, right? So I think it's important that we try to, instead of saying things like will, that potentially, right? This is our thought process. Anyways, sorry about that, Randy. I just think that it's important to
that's perfect.
Make sure that we try to keep that in mind. But second of all, here's a story. So in college, when I first got into college, I was working at a gas station. Okay. And there was some apartment complexes behind us, and they were the regulars. They'd come in. We'd see them sometimes, certain people every day they'd come in. Other people, it was like 2 to 3 times a week, right? But they were the regulars. So I definitely met that Matthew Lambie guy. It was hard to miss that Matthew Lambie guy. So this one day, one of the regulars, this family, they roll in this souped up truck, just like, thing had to cost like $150,000, this truck, right? I mean, it was lifted, crazy tires, quarter ton, or no, it was a full ton. Anyways, just super decked out. And I was like, yo, where did that come from? And they're like, oh, we hit the jackpot in Vegas, right? And they won like a couple $1 million.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's amazing. Congrats, And they're like, we got these plans and we're going to move out. We're going to buy this house. And I was just like, what an awesome moment for these guys, right? So they peace out. No joke, like 8 months later, they're back in their normal car, right? And I was like, what happened? Like, where's your truck? Didn't you pay cash for that? Or like, nah, and basically they spent it all in 8 months, right? And part of the thing is, if you actually look at a lot of the winners of lotteries, a lot of them end up worse off situations than they were before they won the lottery. And it's for multiple reasons. One of them is, as soon as they get all that money, everyone that they comes out of the woodworks and they want money. Hey, give me a loan for this business. They want to do these things. And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, and they don't have that business sense. They lend it out. They don't get paid back. There's a lot of different things there, right? And emotionally, it's incredibly taxing. And I think one of the best things to do, right, is if by chance people end up making lots of money, whether it's in crypto, hit a jackpot, like whatever medium they end up using to get that wealthy somehow. If it's like rags to riches story, you get an attorney and a financial advisor, and you listen to them, right? Because again, you're not used to that type of money, because there's this thing about people typically, and it can be overcome, but like as you grow up in the class that you're brought up in, like there's this mindset of like how much money is in your bank account, right? And if you have more than that, then you need to spend it, right? Like that's, it's like a human nature thing. And so growing up, if you're poor, right, if you got more than like $5,000 in your bank account, it's like, what do I need that for? I need to spend it. And working with those financial advisors and things, they teach you, help you to relearn how to think differently about money, how to make your money work for you instead of just spending it and it being gone for good. So anyway, or you can do like Sleeping did, just dig a hole, and you know, the government's going to print more and more, so that by the time you unbury that fiat, it's worth about 20% of what it was when you buried it. So it is something you can do.
You know, that's how squirrels. Wait, did you just mention squirrels?
Squirrel. I did not.
They bury their acorns for later, and then they only remember where like half of them are. And so that's how like a lot of new trees get like planted. It's squirrels planting the acorns, forgetting that they're there, and then they just go on trees. So like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sleepman was actually he didn't say I'm worried about you, but he's called me a couple times, or is like, hey Rand, I just want to make sure you got a plan for when OMI hits and Definity hits and all these other stuff hits, and you're not going to go like too crazy. I was like, no, I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm winding down in my elder years, and he's like, all right, just like, so he didn't come out and say I'm worried about you, but it's nice to know that people are out there thinking about you. That's really nice. 40. I don't know what 40 is. Yeah, Mr. MC1, what's going on, fam? How you doing? Hope he's doing well. All right, so now that we have FigPin, what are ones that you hope to come to VeVe via FigPin, and which ones you're like, no, I want the actual collectible. I don't want a pin. I want the actual collectible.
Ninja Turtles. So I saw some Ninja Turtle fig pins, right? In fact, one of the exclusives, or one of the New York Comic Con fig pin drops there, was the turtle van.
Oh,
right?
that's cool.
Yeah. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool. And it was one of the more expensive ones. So the fig pins that I saw ranged from like $20 to like $50. And so that turtle van, I feel like it had a name. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, so I would love to, like, Ninja Turtles was a big part of my childhood. And in fact, I had these toy Ninja Turtles that had like the rubber heads, and actually I feel like those are actually going for a decent amount of money. Now I had opened them and played with them, but had I kept that in the packaging, that was like an OG Ninja Turtle with the rubber head there. But yeah, I loved it. And Raphael, I think he's a lot of people's favorites, but I still like, whatever. I'll be a fanboy of Raphael along with all these others, but I would love that, man. I'd love to get Raphael on as the collectible, and like his size and some sort of animation, right? Maybe punching Michelangelo or Donatello, something like that. Be great.
So Mr. MC1 says, I have an update on the VeVe logos remaining. Let me know what that is, because
Does he want to come on? Does he want to come on and talk about this?
Yeah, do you want to come on? Let me see if I can get you a
see if
get you a thing.
Wants to share some alpha here, man.
Let me try to find it. Sorry, go ahead.
I we're talking about this. It'll be interesting to see how many are left, but I would have loved to have seen Crypto Rain get a gold and silver logo, man. He is, and it was great because originally I had thought that he was the first YouTuber to talk about VeVe. Turns out he was like tied for the second YouTuber to talk about VeVe, but he's still, out of those three, right, the only YouTuber to still be talking about VeVe. And you've seen some VeVe fan like YouTubers come and go, and he's remained constant that whole time. So I would have loved to have seen that. But look, I just told him, I'm like, you're crushing it on crypto, and then freaking buy one at some point. And I know that right now he's like, the opportunity cost of $7,000 right now in crypto. I could turn that into a lot more.
Yeah.
Whereas what's the price of that going to get to? I get that, but at some point it's just like you just lock it in, and then you enjoy the ride, man. And I have, and I made that post about that. I truly consider the VeVe Gold logo top grail on VeVe.
Yeah.
Because of the continued utility that David Yu and Sanjay and even other VeVe fam have like applied to this. Like if you have this logo, I'm going to give you this, or you get a discount. There's a lot of different things that have happened there. But on top of that, being able to meet with other VeVe Gold and Silver logo holders and just chat with them and be in that like community, it's huge. The friendships I made because of it. So I love that thing. I'd love for him to get, he says he's beaten out, but will come on the channel tomorrow or day after. Yeah. Oh man, there's 6 left.
So this is, I don't, talk about this. I have to count something real quick.
Yeah.
you talk about this, and then I'll let you know when I count. Okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, I kind of said, so there's 6 left, and David's already promised it to give it to most people. So shoot, I wish I would have made a push to, like bring that to the attention. I mean, because it's not like Rain doesn't have a collection. He definitely has a collection as well of VeVe collectibles. He's got a lot more OMI and things, but overall, and on top of all that, right, he was one of the first investors in the Ecomi token back in like 2019, right? Like this dude's an OG. So sad that didn't happen. But look, I mean, I think he's doing fine and he can buy one himself. But I think it's just that story, or the meaning behind getting one directly from David Yu would have been cool to see. So, but it was funny, Matthew Lambie being like, did you hear him? It was Matt. It was really fun to meet you in person. Wild story there. So I can't believe I haven't done this yet, but shout out to Yo Steph for doing this. But she had one of, here's another shout out, O'Malley T's t-shirts that he created specifically for New York Comic Con. And she was going around and having all the VeVe fans sign that. And I'm like, why have I not thought about that? So I need to do that. But Matthew Lambie, he just had people sign his face. That's crazy, bro. I hope that's not permanent marker, man. That was wild. Super wild. But yeah, it's looking like so apparently, Randy, you had an intimate moment with Mr. Matthew Lambie before you guys had even spoken a word to each other.
So 437 is the amount of gold logos that have been minted so far. Now 437, starting from number 41 and going to 500. So you have, if there's 6 more left, then there would be 443 in total. Now that 443, if you add that 1 through 40, that'd be 483. So only really 17 have gone like unredeemed or whatever, lost to time. But that's the final number that we'll have is 443.
And it'll be interesting because remember the story behind this is Dan and David were initially just giving these out kind of as like their business card.
Yeah.
So there's a decent likelihood that some of those people took that and then just lost it. Right? So that'll be interesting to see if there's a couple that just go completely unredeemed and never see the light of day.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I feel like makes part of what makes it so bad. There's just so many layers. It's like an onion, has so many layers to this card. The fact that you had to be at a certain place at a certain time after doing a specific task, like finding one of the founders, showing them your collection, and then obviously the utility with that, the parties that go along with it. I mean, you have the official utility from the VeVe team, and then you have the unofficial but still epic utility from Mr. MC1. The network, and it's not just like, oh, we have this merry man to men that we found working on the railroad. It's just a mix of just amazing people. I wish if there was whatever we are, whether we're a simulation, whether it's real life, if aliens are watching us and they're thinking, hey, these guys kind of have like nuclear weapons. These guys are kind of at war with each other. You know, maybe we should destroy this planet before they destroy. You know, they destroyed this Earth before they destroy the rest of the solar system. I hope one of the things that I hope they look at is New York Comic Con, and further than that, to get even more pinpointed, I hope they go and they look at VeVe and specifically the gold logo party, because there's very few other accumulations of people from around the world that are just so pure and good-hearted that I honestly believe that if aliens go and they look at that, that could be the deciding factor. It's like, you know what? Humans aren't all bad. Some are actually really freaking cool. And, you know, you saved Earth, you know, we'll let you guys live another, you know, couple millennia, whatever. Because the nights are just so special. It's just filled with love. There's only good feelings there. That is, Linda Carlisle, like Heaven's Place on Earth, like that is as close to heaven, I think, as you can get. Obviously, me not being religious, I'd really, but yeah, that's really fun. That's a good time.
I love that, Red. Listen, aliens, if you're listening, look at the VeVe gold and silver logo parties before you make any decision to destroy us. Oh my gosh,
someone's gonna clip
so
that
hilarious.
and be like, "Oh man, this is really VeVe's biggest YouTubers."
Yeah, like I don't think that's gonna happen, to be honest. But look, I mean, I agree with you in the fact that like the caliber of individuals who are in this gold and silver logo group, there's just so many giving individuals, and it's awesome. I mean, Tina and Rudy, how fun are they? Holy crap, you know, they are so fun. Like, and that's the thing is, like, I just feel like there's this list of people that I could just continue to be like, they were awesome. They were awesome. VeVe was awesome, right? Jason Pena, like meeting Jason, like I met Grubba for the first time in real life. In fact, here's a funny story. People kept confusing me and Grubba, and someone came up to me and they were like, yo, congrats on that hitting level 100 master collector, you know, like that's epic. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I didn't hit level 100. They're like, I saw the whole video on it. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I saw the video of Grubba and I'm like, bro, I think that they thought I was Grubba. So then I telling Grubba that story. He's like, oh, that's so funny. And then later that night, this is on Saturday night, he came up to me and he's like, man, someone tapped me on the shoulder and started telling me how much they love my channel. I don't have a channel. Like, what? Like, it was pretty funny. We kept getting confused. But anyways, the list goes on and on of just the quality and caliber of individuals in this group. And they're great, man. And so that's the other thing. When I said that the VeVe Gold and Silver logo to me is a grail, regardless of what the price is, right? The utility that's there, and the people that I've got to meet, right, in some of these special events that you only get to go to if you're a VeVe Gold and Silver logo holder, really makes a difference because the conversations you get to have, like, it's a lot more intimate setting, right? And like you get in there and there's already this kind of connection with these individuals. So it's very easy to start a conversation and then see where it goes from there, right? So it's been I've loved it, man. I've loved it.
The one of my horses had put Greta Thunberg, how dare you, video on the Vegas Sphere. So one of my favorite moments. Well, I mean, it's not. I guess it's. You know, in Harry Potter, they have the Patronus charm, and that's the spell that wards off Dementors.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like a really happy memory. And when Lupin's telling Harry, like, you know, is it powerful and happy? He's like, it's like the most powerful thing. So this isn't necessarily happy. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's really, it's good. There was this guy, I won't dox him, that had kind of pulled me aside and said, like, hey, when I was going through my divorce, you were there. And I wasn't like physically there. He was just watching like my stuff. And he's like, when my mom died, you were there. And as he's thanking me for this, I was being really cool, and I was just like, hey, you know what, man, I'm glad you're here, glad you can make it, glad you, work through with it. And then I went to the bathroom, just cried. I was like, oh my god, this is fucking awful. But it was, I don't know, those types of like moments where it's like, oh wow, these people, we all like touch each other in that good way, and that not, poor choice of words.
I did not touch anyone. I wanted to make that clear. I don't know what Randy was doing. I'm reading some of the things that Matthew Lamby's talking about. I was not a part of any of that.
Yeah, we did the wrap
clear.
around, and then so that was good. What up, Splint? Yeah. So before I put my foot in my mouth anymore, the Huge Mistake Made a Go logo party. South Gilliam from Walking Dead was there. Yeah, no, oh, that's true. We didn't. We have the technology, and I didn't do it. That was my bad.
I didn't meet him. I didn't get to meet him. But that's the other thing, right? When you talk about Sanjay's party on Friday night, I mean, it was wild, man. You had Marvel artists there. You had other pop artists. Jason Naylor was there, and Ron English was there. Alfred Kahn was there. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, when, besides maybe at the VeVe booth, but even then, like, the chance to sit down and talk with them, really low. But at these parties, like, there's so many opportunities. And look, Sanjay's already been talking about how he's already planning for 2025 and how much bigger and better it's going to be with, who's going to be there. Man, it's getting crazy. And I'll say this is a bit of speculation on my part, right? But if VeVe makes it big, right, and it becomes widely known, then these parties are going to be crazy, and the people who are owning these logos are going to be crazy. And I think about Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Now those had 10,000, right, Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, but like Jimmy Fallon, Paris Hilton, Neymar had a Bored Ape at one point in time. Now, I don't know if Neymar or any of those people actually came to the parties, but again, there was 10,000 of them. So what do you get to 500? Should be 500 of these things. Imagine who's going to be at those parties if, and it's so an if, right? Like VeVe makes it big. Holy cow. But we're already seeing the caliber of individuals at this point in time who are coming to some of those. So that's the other thing is man, like, I'm not necessarily looking for any connections for any business or anything like that. I just love to hear people's stories. But even meeting Josh Emmett, right, at the party and getting to talk to him a little bit and even getting that picture with him, right? Man, awesome. So, yeah, high quality individuals and it's a pretty exclusive group. And I just could not be a part of it. And I just am pissed at you, Randy, that you screwed me twice by making videos right before I was. So this is me not taking ownership of my actions, because at one point the price, like, I was waiting for it to drop below 2,000, and it got to like $2,100, and I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna buy this soon. It's 2,000, and I was watching it, and then that night you did a video on it talking about all of the utility that's really come to play, right? And it pumped it, and I was like, Randy, and then you did it a second time, and I was like, you know what? I just gotta freaking buy. I like, I say that in jest, right? Like, obviously you have like every right to talk about that and talk about how exciting it was. And I think that you were bringing up the point that you felt like it was undervalued, and people started to see that, right? And so I bought like both of mine at a much higher price point than I could have been buying it at. And I'm super happy with it. Like, I'm very still like excited that I have that. And so, you know what? So is this Harish? I think this is Harish. Can't see who that is, but it just says H. But hi there, hey. Why can't I see their name on? Oh, I can't read. So it says, how do you feel about OMI after NYCC? Well, you take some of the team's energy towards it. So can I say this, right? Is there's a big collaboration between VeVe and Stacker, right? And Stacker is where OMI to NFT is. Like that's a big deal. And obviously Dr. Profit, which, can I just say, I've been on so many tangents here, but I got to do the FA picture doxing Dr. Profit on X. That was so cool, right? Because it was me, Crypto Rain, and Crypto Cosmo, and we had dinner at. By the way, if you're ever in New York and Chinese noodle place, Real Kung Fu. Real Kung Fu Little Steamed Buns is the name of the restaurant. Phenomenal. So we ate there, and we were just talking about things, and took a picture together, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna post this. You want me to put like a smiley face over your face?" And he's like, "No, it's good." And I was like what? And he's like, "No." He's like, "I've already doxed myself." Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, "Yeah, I doxed it when Stacker made the announcement of OMI the NFT, like that announcement, it talks about who Dr. Profit is, right? And says his name and everything in the article." So he's like, "Listen, people, like, I'm doxed myself. Go ahead and take that picture." So that was really fun to do. But in answer to your question, hi there, hey, it's kind of fun to say, is I'll say this. I talked with Foster, who is the Ecomi community manager, right? And he is very focused on making Ecomi a big deal, right? I'll say that it is not forgotten at all. It's not like it's an afterthought, but I do think that they have to continue to build out VeVe and that partnership with Stacker to make the token like really worthwhile. And I'll just say this, after talking with Dr. Profit, there's a lot of dedication and energy being put towards really building out that platform and really trying to make that to where people want to go and use Stacker and use OMI on Stacker. So I'll definitely say that, like David, you talking about collecting vibes, like I'll say that I definitely got very positive vibes on the direction that OMI is going and what they're trying to add to this. But at the end of the day, listen, and this I think is important, right? There's two things with crypto. One part of crypto truly is just pure speculation on things, right? Prices go to insane amounts based on speculation. A lot of times it's based on speculation. Meme coins. It's that, hey, this meme coin is going to go way higher than what I bought it at. There's no utility behind it. I'm just speculating because I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm hoping it hits even bigger because it's a lower market cap, whatever that is, right? So there's a lot of speculation in this place. And I'll say that the OMI token potentially has a lot of different routes to hitting a narrative, whether it's AR, VR, whether it's AI. If we get the VeVeverse /win, hashtag Ben Rose saying that he's really focused on that, we're getting the VeVeverse. I hope it's quite soon. But they did talk about maybe using AI for NPRs, and so that potentially an AR narrative, that's a lot weaker argument. Gaming, potentially, right? If there's mini games in the VeVeverse. So, or just metaverse in general. I feel like some of those narratives, there could be ties in where, even if it's slight, that's the thing about crypto that I've seen is people will make these connections and they're just like, oh, I think this is going to be big. And then it just becomes a narrative in and of itself of going over there. But so there's that part of it. But all Ecomi can do, number one, is build out the utility of the token. Why do people want the token? Why do they want to purchase it? Not just for speculation. If there's a true use case for it where, hey, I can buy things cheaper on Stacker because people are selling it at a lower price than they are on VeVe because of that 10% cash out fee on VeVe. And Foster's already said this, right? He's like, we want to develop reasons why people want to use Stacker and want to use the OMI token on Stacker. And that's their focus. So I think that they're building that out. We need more accessibility, which I think that they are continuing to do. They put it on base. They're making it easier through Stacker to be able to access the Ecomi token. I still think that I would love to see a U.S. exchange. I think that would be huge for the token. But they can only do so much. And even if they did all that and the price didn't pump, it is what it is, right? And that is a potential reality. Now, I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I think that it will go up in price, but that utility will really help it there. So that's a long way roundabout, hi there, hey, to basically say the team's energy towards it. When I talked to Foster, when I talked to Dr. Profit, and their ideas of, or just their discussions. Dr. Profit was constantly talking about OMI or Stacker in one way, shape, or form. Constantly, he was. I was with him for 4 days, and there wasn't a day that went by where we didn't talk about that stuff for like at least an hour, if not more. So a lot of energy there. And again, Foster talking about it too. And those are the people that are really tied to the Ecomi side of things. So, like, I know that David's the CEO of Ecomi, but again, I think until that full utility is out there, I wouldn't expect him to talk about that. Now, I will say this: I'm going to contradict, or in my opinion, I disagree to a certain extent with what you and Rain had said earlier about David never talking about OMI. I think that David should be talking about, once the utility is there, just talking about the utility of the token. That's not pumping the bags. Now, what we don't want to see is him being like, once we add this utility to the moon, right? You don't want that, right? But if he's saying, hey, we have this token, we've really built out the utility for it, we think that it's a strong use case, I hope you go check it out, those types of things, right? So yeah, that's my super long answer to that. Hi there. Hey.
So just to piggyback what you said there, OMI's presence is always felt. It's like you could be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you could be on the planet Nowhere, you could be on Xandar. Thanos' presence is felt everywhere, regardless of where you are in the universe. Same with OMI, because it's just people play 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. It is just 1 degree away from the VeVe app. It's just on that stacker. Right now, you're only able to buy and sell a couple things with it. That will likely change in the future. Again, hopefully Marvel and Disney. But also, you have to look at incentives. And part of the reason why I was so bullish on Tesla back in the day was because Elon Musk was incentivized to hit these tranches. If the Tesla market cap or the stock hit a certain price, he was able to buy those at a super cheap price, at a super discounted rate. And that's why, okay, well, he's going to either get it done or move mountains trying. And even if he doesn't hit all of them, he'll hit some of them. He'll wind up hitting all of them. Dodger Profit, the one who's literally in charge of Stacker, he's got more OMI than most other people in the entire world combined. And he is heavily incentivized. That was the same question why I asked Ben when he was on the podcast like last week, a week and a half ago. I was like, hey.
Bro,
yeah.
I could not believe you asked that question.
Why not?
You're like, hey, tell me about your incentive compensation. Yeah, not going to get into that, bro. Like,
yeah, I mean,
bold.
I mean, that's, I know VeVe is a private company, and but I'm curious on what his ownership is. Like they've talked publicly multiple times about his ownership. It's not currently in the ownership breakdown over on the shareholders agreements, but I was like, hey, could you bring this up? And the worst they can say is no, which he did. Like, I'm not gonna talk about that. But again, you have somebody that is incentivized at least to make the app grow. But David and Dan, same thing. Have the yeah. Let's wrap it up right here. Good Sanjay, good point. But well, yep, love it all. I love you all. I want to talk with Doc off camera, so I'm going to say, everyone, Pastor Smith, thank you for the super chats. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi.
Wow, Dashi. What's up, Dashi? I didn't know Dashi was there. That's funny.